19th because Brady Singer does not get any run support. In 12 of Brady Singer's starts this year, the Royals have scored 2 runs or less. And so that's why his record is 4-4 with a very, very good 3.12 ERA. Brady Singer should probably have twice that many wins, but that's why you don't judge a starting pitcher by how many wins he has. But he just doesn't get any consistent run support. He hasn't won in a month, but he's pitched well enough to win some games in the last month. And let's see if he can do it again tonight. Royals and Rays, 7:10 first pitch tonight at Kauffman Stadium. Let's go Royals. Jamie Bluma will be in studio to talk about the Royals in the 7 o'clock hour. Then we'll have a chat with Matt Derrick from ChiefsDigest.com as we are now 2 weeks from today. 2 weeks from today, Patrick Mahomes and the quarterbacks, along with the rookies, will report to Missouri Western State University for training camp.
Wow.
And then later on that week, the rest of the team. But 2 weeks from today,
Man.
July 16th. Is that right? It's got to be right. I said it. You know?
That's, man, it creeps up on you. Goes fast.
Sure it does.
Let's go.
But I'm not complaining.
Nope.
You know?
No, sir.
I'm ready for it. Three-peat. It's three-peat season is what they call it around here. Or at least that's what I've been told.
Well, you call those types of shots, so.
Three-peat season.
Three-peat season.
And you know, not for nothing, but at least on paper right now, one of the most exciting college football seasons is right around the corner. For everybody involved here.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a Missouri, Kansas, or Kansas State fan, I can't speak for any other teams. But all three of those teams can be considered top 25 quality and at least can have dreams of making the first college football playoff. The real college football playoff, not the 4. We've seen that in the past. The expanded playoff. When it's actually the real, it's actually playoffs.
Yeah. Not
right?
just a 2-game, whatever you want to call that. Yeah, there's going to be a real tournament.
So that's right around the corner.
And as I heard you talking with Lebo yesterday and Jesse, the great thing is because the Royals are relevant, we have something else to spend our time thinking about too, so that we don't obsess over every tiny little mistake that gets made in St. Joe or.
Oh, I'll be obsessing over that. That's not going to stop me. Are you kidding me? We have something to look at. We have something to capture our imagination, but
Yeah.
I'd be lying to you if I said that was going to. I mean, honestly, come on.
Yeah, but if Mahomes goes and throws a few picks in practice or something.
Well, that shouldn't. I'm going to be up there watching this Louis Reese Zamet to see what happens.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Caught another one.
Yeah. I'm holding out as long as I can before we get into it.
Why?
Because you're going to be scolded beforehand.
Okay.
Let's see. Well, I'm trying to figure out exactly when fans are going to go up there. I guess I shouldn't care right now for training camp. I'm just very excited. I report for training camp on July 20th. So I got 18 days before I check into the Stony Creek Hotel and Conference Center.
You be there for a week? What are you going to do?
Yeah. Saturday to Saturday. I'm going to be there. Because we got to come back the 27th because there's a Goats game that night. And then we're going to be in Kansas City for a week. And then my late anniversary present to Susan, we're going to see Moulin Rouge, the musical.
Oh, boy.
That's her favorite.
Voulez-vous coucher avec moi?
She loves that. I mean, it's going to be... It's going to be good. Yeah, that's what I was saying when I bought the tickets. I saw how much they were in the orchestra. section. I said a lot of French. And I was like, the French. See if you can find it worse than Wells.
Oh.
Such an
Always
addition
been
to the
celebrated.
show. Right. And then we go to Minnesota. So.
And I'm filling in for you for at least part of that time, right?
I hope so.
It's going to be New Day with Nate Buchanan.
Yeah. Man, I hope you are.
Yeah.
No, we're in deep trouble.
I specifically told the folks at Galazzo Network, don't book me for that week. They said, okay.
And they said, here, we double booked you for this week.
The French.
That's right. So, here we go. Royals, no game last night. They'll be back in action tonight. And so that left many people to focus on the U.S. men's national team at Arrowhead Stadium here in Kansas City. And unfortunately, what they focused on wasn't good.
No.
Was not good.
Mm-mm.
And it was for a variety of reasons. I was texting. So where were you watching the game at? Did you go? Or
No, I was in the basement.
Okay.
Watching on TV with the fam.
When I was texting with Jake during this thing, and I was asking him, because you don't know when people if it's justified if people are complaining about things on social media. And I told him, is this all warranted? People are complaining about the officiating, the feed, the camera angles, and the field before you can even get to how the U.S. men's national team played.
Yeah.
And he said, it's crazy. They finally figured out the cameras 40 minutes in. The referee is insanely out of his league. He said, I've never seen a yellow card being handed out as a referee says play on. And there were other things, obviously, with the officiating.
Yeah.
And so we'll start there. Were those complaints warranted?
Yes.
Was the officiating bad?
Yes. Terrible.
Okay.
Terrible.
What was the camera angle, the feed?
Yeah, they
okay, explain that.
For whatever reason, the people that govern this sporting event, CONMEBOL, are from South America. They told Fox, you get to take the cameras we give you, basically. You don't get to set up your own cameras. And they, for whatever reason, set the camera up way up on top, like where the press box is. When you sit way up high, instead of down on that third level where the old broadcast booths are, which is where you're used to watching any Chiefs game from, any other game from. And apparently the Fox execs threw such a fit, at some point they finally were able to get the camera changed, but it was like 40 minutes into the game. I didn't mind it because it was like a tactical cam. It was almost like watching the All-22. That's exactly where they put the camera for the All-22.
I saw one guy tweet out, maybe I'm just a soccer nerd, but I like this. But then everyone else, one guy, like, I had to turn it off. It's making me dizzy. This is embarrassing. Why are they doing this?
Yeah.
It's like, that's why I'm asking Jake, like, I don't know. Is this like, am I supposed to hate this? Is this bad? Is this, it did improve.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of outrage, and most, like 95% of it was negative.
Yeah.
The reaction to the camera angle.
I made the mistake of telling some of my buddies that are some of these other soccer broadcasters, hey, I kind of like this angle. You can see the tactics a little bit more, and they just destroyed me. They're like, well, don't say that on Twitter because you'll get crushed because everybody hates it.
Right.
And so
instead, say it on the radio.
Yeah, everybody hated it. And I understand it. It's not what you're used to watching. You're not used to seeing the game that way. And the Fox execs finally got it moved.
Like, I'm not sure I'd want to watch a live NFL game, all 22.
Yeah.
Like, afterwards, I want to go back and, like, look at things. I'm not sure I'd like to, in the moment, watch that.
Yeah.
Although I like watching the game up in the press box when I'm at Arrowhead, but that's different.
Somebody made a point to me that, like, if you were doing multiple broadcasts, like they do for the college football national championship game or something, that would be a cool camera angle to have. If you wanted to go, hey, I want to go check out the tactics for a while. But to be your main feed, no. Wasn't good. So the refereeing was poor. The camera was bad. Yes. Until they got it fixed.
Now, what was wrong with the field?
The field is, they've talked about how for the World Cup, the Chiefs are going to have to do, like $8 million in renovations to the stadium because they've got to move the stands back in the corners so that they can widen the field. Because that field is more narrow than a typical FIFA soccer field at Arrowhead Stadium because it's not built for soccer right now. So the field is smaller, which means there's not as much space for the players to get to pass the ball, get to move, and it makes for an uglier game when everybody's kind of bunched up together because they don't have as much freedom of movement. So Jake was mad about that. I know he texted us. That's what that was about.
He didn't like that at all.
No, and I'm not a fan of it either.
All right,
but we've seen soccer matches played there that have been really entertaining and fun to watch. 72,000 watched one a few months ago when Messi was here. So you can still have a great game there.
Okay, what level of disaster is this that they didn't advance?
Massive disaster. This was the last major competition that this men's national team had a chance to play in before the World Cup is on our soil in 2 years. And they absolutely wasted it. They wasted it from a standpoint of getting better as a team so that they could be more ready for that World Cup, because getting into the knockout rounds, they would have gotten to play against the really good teams from South America, like Colombia or Brazil.
And that's a time for evaluation to see where you're at.
Evaluate, grow, because you grow from experiences of being through games like that actually matter. And also an opportunity to get people like you possibly excited about this.
What the hell is that supposed to mean?
A bunch of my buddies who don't watch soccer were texting me last night watching the game.
People like me.
People like you that don't love soccer, that aren't like watching every single U.S. men's national team game because you're so fired up about it, right? There's a lot of people that watched that game last night that are...
I watched it.
Yeah, you watched it. Like, they're people that are willing to give this team a chance, that are willing to give U.S. soccer a chance, but it's not like the number one thing on their list. It's not their favorite thing. And you need to when you have the opportunity to get those people excited, get them on board, you've got to take advantage of it. Did that get you excited last night, what you saw? Did that make you feel like, oh, man, I can't wait for the World Cup now?
Well, I look forward to the World Cup, but it made me think that, they have no shot at doing anything special in the World Cup.
Right.
They're way behind everyone else.
Right.
And
So that's a disaster.
Well, you see, most of the things that I know about soccer or hear about soccer are through you and Jake, right? And so it did make me wonder if you will now take an E on this Greg Berhalter argument you've had with Jake and say maybe that's not the...
They need to make a move.
Yeah. Oh, and Jake's not here to hear you say that.
Yeah.
Does it pain you to say that?
No. I mean, I don't like ever the idea of somebody getting fired.
But you didn't... It didn't sound like that was too difficult for you to say just now.
No, because I was not like the biggest Berhalter fan. I didn't think, oh, man, this guy's just the best. But I didn't feel like he deserved to get fired. Now, look, we could go back to when he got rehired.
Right. That's what people think. Or at least what I was listening to last night, that people don't think he should have been rehired.
And I think that's perfectly fair. Different, and they didn't. I think it's... My point was, once they did that, okay, well, let's give the guy a chance in games that actually matter. Let's see, if there's progress with this team, because they are young. So it's a group of young players, this quote-unquote golden generation, which needs to be, they shouldn't be called that anymore because they haven't done anything. But they're young. And so let's see if they improve. They liked him. The reason they brought him back was these young players all went to bat for him. We want Greg Berhalter. He's our guy. We love playing for him. Okay, well, let's give him a chance.
So I was watching. I'm gonna do my best to get everyone's name right and everything that I saw last night. So I was watching the post game, and Carly Lloyd said, "Who cares if you like your coach?"
Right.
She goes, "We won titles." Did you see what she goes? "We won titles, and we hated our coaches." I'm like, whoa. That was like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
She just said it.
Yeah.
Plural.
Yeah.
She goes, "We won titles, and we hated our coaches, but they got the best out of us."
Yep.
So it's like,
Yeah.
and I think that's what, I don't know, listening to Clint Dempsey and Alexi Lalas, it seemed like they were kind of alluding to that too. Like, we're tired of hearing about this, and how great you just don't see what's going on inside the program.
Yeah.
We're tired of hearing about this. What we do see is you not advancing.
Yeah.
That's what we see.
Yeah.
We don't want to hear about all this other kumbaya stuff and everything else. I mean, they went in.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was,
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty powerful. I enjoyed watching for about half an hour them being pissed off.
I thought they were really good at breaking down, and like Alexi Lalas, for those that don't know, he's the guy that usually gets everybody wound up. He likes to stir the pot. He likes to say things that get a reaction out of people. But I actually thought last night everything he said was on point. And I didn't think he went overboard. I didn't think he tried to see, let me see how many clicks I can get by screaming and yelling. He just laid it out there. And what Carly Lloyd said, what he said, behind the scenes, we don't care anymore. You need to win. This was a real competition against really good countries, and you had a chance to show what you're supposedly making progress with behind the scenes, and you puked on your shoes. And, the part that really is the worst to me, I think more people in the country were watching last night because that was the big game they had to win to advance, but it was the second game where they blew it. And it was a guy that I've always liked as a player, but he just has this moment of complete lack of discipline and punches a guy in the back of the head in the middle of the game.
And he was up in the box last night watching.
And you lose to Panama on home soil because of that. It's a tiny little country that has some decent players, but doesn't have anywhere near the talent that your team does. And that goes back to like what you were saying about Carly Lloyd. To me, okay, you players all said you love playing for this guy, but you keep doing undisciplined things under him as a coach. You must not fear him or respect him enough. You keep not showing up with the proper amount of effort and execution and energy. So who cares if you like him? It's not getting the best out of you. I don't know how anybody could argue it's getting the best out of these players right now.
Can you imagine that, like in the NFL or an American sport where a team kept failing and the players say, but we really like our coach. we really like this guy.
Right.
And the coach would come out and say, you don't see what goes on at practice.
Yeah.
You don't see what goes on at OTAs every day. Mm-hmm. Now we keep losing, but you don't see what how long will that last?
Yeah, I mean, you hear coaches try to pull that, right? But it doesn't work.
Happens?
No, it doesn't work. Yeah, you and what Alexi Lalas said that to me was the most poignant about the whole thing. He said, "Look, I want to see the United States fan base unified and supportive of this team when the World Cup comes here in 2 years." And right now, Greg Berhalter doesn't do that. He divides everybody because they were chanting. I mean, the most diehard, passionate U.S. soccer fans, they've had it. They've had it for a while. They're not on board. And there's nothing. This was the one chance he had to get them on board because these were real games against good teams. All they're going to have left for the next 2 years are either friendlies, which don't count. Like how I feel about spring training baseball and
you love it,
and preseason football. If you think that if you care about the results of those games, you're just being fooled. The results don't matter, so you can't. Oh well, we tied Brazil in a friendly. Good for you. No one cares. It's not what matters. But so you're either going to play friendlies against good teams or real competitions against bad teams from our region. So if you win those games, nobody's getting on board. This was his chance to get people on board. And so now you're going to go into the World Cup with the entire fan base disgruntled if you don't do something.
Let me tell you something. The moment that I actually identified with fans of the U.S. men's national team. So I have a tremendous amount of experience in a past life walking out of Arrowhead after a gut punch loss in the postseason, after a loss that ripped my heart out. And one of the darkest times when you're leaving Arrowhead after one of these losses is when you're in the spiral ramp, right? And you'll see, and you get to kind of see people and how upset they are or what they're saying. And sometimes you'll get a chant going, you know. Sometimes it's great, you know, like after they win, you know.
Fans are doing the chop,
you know,
walking
whatever.
down,
It's like
having fun.
this is awesome.
Yeah.
Now we're listen to this. That was last night. Somebody recorded that in the ramp walking down from the upper level of Arrowhead, chanting "Fire Greg."
They were chanting it in the second half of the game in the
but
stands,
just you know,
too. Yeah.
because we've all been there, right?
Yep. Oh yeah.
Walking to the parking lot and someone, you know, we're
Yeah.
never gonna win with Marty Ball. You know, now this quarterback sucks. You know, all this whatever was said. You know,
Matt Castle.
right? But I mean, did that? I mean,
Yeah.
that resonates.
Yes.
Now we don't have those things anymore. We don't have those complaints anymore because usually walking out of Arrowhead after a playoff game is wonderful. It's a wonderful experience. But we can think back, like, oh yeah, I remember being real pissed walking out of Arrowhead.
Yeah.
And they were.
That's the point. And if you so now what U.S. Soccer put out a statement, they're going to conduct a review. They're going to dive into this with a review and see where they stand.
All right, then.
Last time they did that, they hired a search firm. They did all this stuff, and it led them to bring him back after all the stuff that had happened after the last World Cup. So I don't know how much confidence people have in the review that's going to take place this time around. There's a lot of problems on this team. They're underachieving for the talent that they have. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And we need a break.
Later on, too, I'll mention that at 8:30 we'll have Matt Beasler.
Oh, boy.
Former member of the U.S. men's national team on the show to talk about this. We'll take a break back after this on WHB. Welcome back to New Day with SSJ. Okay. Later on, Jamie Bluma, Matt Derrick, Matt Beasler, and Andy Rogers between now and 10 o'clock. Okay, so then a couple of questions from me to Mr. Soccer USA right here, Nate Bucati. So this is not me after the fact criticizing or wondering if this was the right thing to do or wanting to ask you about this. In the moment, when I saw this, I thought, wow, that's interesting. Should he be doing that? And I don't know. And if you tell me, no, that's how you do it. That's what you're supposed to do. You don't know soccer, dumb. This is what you do in soccer. Figure it out. Then I'll say, okay, I get it. Right? Because sometimes you'll watch a fight and you'll see something like, why did they do that? Or why did the trainer say, was that right? Well, no, that was, Nate, pull your head out of your ass for a minute. Let me explain something to you.
Yeah.
So, for people that didn't watch or are bored by us talking about this, whatever, it wasn't just watching the U.S. men's national team. Them advancing also had, you had to watch the other game as well between Panama and Bolivia, right? Mm-hmm. And so the United States had to at least equal the result that Panama got, right?
Yep.
To advance.
Yeah. Because
they had the better goal differential. I got this. Is that right?
You nailed it.
I'm going home. So the announcers are keeping us up to date on what's going on. And for a long time, Panama was up, which means the U.S. had to win.
Yes.
They just couldn't have a draw. They had to win. They had to match. And so, and this is still when it was nothing, or what would you say?
0-0.
I know you get something else fancy you say for that.
Cero a cero? I don't know. 0-0 is what they...
Level?
It was all level.
What was it? Well, what just happened? Am I off the air? Why, Drake? Just because I said ass? I'm sorry. I'll never do it again. And so... the announce crew, or the broadcast crew, all of a sudden says, oh, it's down in Miami, right? Oh, there's a goal down in Miami.
Yeah.
Bolivia scored, and now it's even. So as we speak right now, the U.S. would advance. If things stay the same, as they are right now, both games are tied. And right now, if it stays that way, the Americans would advance. So, okay. All right now. And so then immediately, they go to the shot of Berhalter.
Yep.
It looked like informing his team, 1-1. 1-1. Right?
Yeah. Yep.
That's been confirmed. That's what he was doing.
That's what that I haven't seen anybody deny
everyone,
it.
Right,
yeah,
1-1.
Everyone's. Yeah. Yep. Yes.
Okay. And I'm thinking, should he? Is that normal? I mean, that would be like, and I get it. I know that's like sometimes, like remember when Kevin Harlan had to call both games, and the Chiefs needed,
baby.
But that was just for the Chiefs to get a better seed, right?
Yep.
And maybe the Chiefs players, but I think NFL head coaches are always, hey, we just focus on the game. We're not going to scoreboard watch. You've had coaches that said we're not putting the score up on the scoreboard.
Peter Vermees has done that on the last day of the year. He's instructed the scoreboard people. I don't want scores up in the stadium.
And I'm sorry, I looked through. I looked almost everything through the lens of as a Chiefs fan. Can I imagine Andy Reid 14-7 at the that would be so bizarre, right?
Hey,
yeah, you know what I mean?
Fitzmagic just scored a touchdown.
They scored a touchdown. Hey, it's right. But and Berhalter was like 1-1. And I mean, he couldn't get that out of his mouth fast enough.
Yeah.
And it just almost. I'm not saying it happened, but if you're just watching it as a TV presentation, it looked like he did that. They either got distracted or let down, and then, bam, they gave up a goal.
10 seconds later.
But when he was doing it, I didn't question this. When they scored the goal, I was like, is that weird that he's doing that? Should he?
Yeah.
Is that a deal?
Yeah.
Is that a thing? Because I thought that I'd heard you say that Peter Vermees was like, we're not looking at nothing.
Yeah.
And I know damn well that Andy Reid's, shouting out scores. Field goal, Miami! Can you
Wouldn't that
imagine?
be great?
Right. So,
Hey, Pat, doggone it.
So, I've seen all, people would just crush, and I mean, they needed another reason to crush Berhalter, right? And one of the guys, and I try to pick and choose, what this guy says means something. Like Taylor Twellman was all pissed off that he did that.
Yeah.
Right? He said, just win the effing game. Who cares what the other teams do? Winners take care of what they control, not others. And then he posted this picture of Berhalter doing 1-1. And I'm reading all these other people that are, another guy that, Andrew Joseph, senior writer for USA Today Sports. Berhalter excitedly signaling the Bolivia score to his players just seconds before conceding a goal is pretty symbolic of his entire tenure. Just accepting mediocrity, if not straight up celebrating it.
Yeah, see, this morning while I was scrolling through and I saw you post that picture, I thought, our old buddy Dave Borchert was at the game. I thought that was Dave.
Dave Berhalter? Really? Does he look like him? Yeah, okay. I see
Tall,
it.
skinny guy.
But I mean, so I ask you, should he be criticized for that?
Well, listen, I never played soccer at a high level. Unless
you
count
watch more
Bishop
soccer
Ward.
than anyone I know. Is that normal? Do coaches do that? You can answer that.
I don't think so. Look, the coach that I spent the most time around has been Peter Vermees. I know that they're having a bad time right now, but he's done some incredible things as a head coach. I think he's a tremendous head coach overall. We used to laugh when we worked at Sporting because so they do this on the last day of tournament soccer. They're doing it in other sports now, like baseball, where everybody kicks off at the same time the last game just because of this type of thing. They don't want one team to have the advantage of knowing that the other game's already done. We know what result we need. They want you to play the game out live. They want this kind of drama. And so Peter Vermees would tell the scoreboard people at Children's Mercy Park, don't show the scores from the other games. I don't want my players focusing on that at all. I want them focusing on the game. And we would laugh because we're like, does he know that everybody's got cell phones in the audience?
Right. Everyone in the crowd knew.
Yeah.
You could hear the buzz in the crowd. They
Which
knew.
is fun. I think that's cool as hell, right? Because little pockets of the audience would start cheering and stuff, right? Because they saw
Should
it.
he be criticized for that?
Yes. And here's why I say that. Because people like Taylor Twellman, people like a guy that I've become very good friends with this year, who's an analyst on the MLS crew named Danny Higginbotham. This guy played 10 years in the English Premier League.
That's who Twellman retweeted.
He is. Yeah, Danny is and Danny's not the kind of guy that's going to just go criticize people for no reason. He's very measured about what he says. And he tweeted out, signaling to your team right as they're getting ready to defend a set piece that it's 1-1 might not have been the best idea. And he was texting me some stuff on the side that was a little harsher than that. Those guys have played. They know what it's like to play.
So that could have actually distracted them, or
I mean, who knows what does it do for them? You know what I mean? Like what positive thing does that do to help them when they're getting ready to defend a very important set piece? Like, how does it help to tell them that? Focus on the game. Focus on what you control.
It just seemed weird.
It was weird. And I was like you. I was watching it going, man, most managers I know would not want that.
See, but then I saw it. I'm thinking,
Maybe.
This is me that doesn't watch very much soccer, and this is how they roll.
I mean, I wondered it a little bit myself. Like, well, maybe I'm just used to Peter Vermees, and and then I saw everybody that I know that played soccer at a high level going, what is he doing? Why would he do that? I think that's a fair criticism. I think it's one of many fair criticisms.
Okay,
honestly.
so that's one talking point. The other, the goal, should that have been allowed?
I thought he was offside.
Is that American Nate or is that soccer Nate? Because those are two different people.
Objective Nate says that they don't have the proper technology to know for sure if he was offside or
That
not.
Stu Holden kept making fun. They're just drawing lines. Yeah. They're just drawing lines. Yeah. It's not even a straight line. Let's draw some more lines. Like, boy, he's pissed off.
I mean, I think there was a little bit of American homerism going on with some of the broadcasts.
I know,
and
but
I love Stu.
he kept saying,
yeah,
they're back there drawing some more lines. Let's see.
Yeah.
I'm like,
like, that's not a straight line.
This guy is pissed.
But that's part of the point is, like, they don't have the offside technology here for this competition that they do. Like, when you watch these Euros, they have like a chip in the ball that tells you when the ball's played. They have specific lines drawn that can tell you, like, to the millimeter if somebody's offside or not. And we don't have that in this competition. So
why?
Well, part of it's probably because they didn't want to put the money into it. Part of it is probably because they're playing in a lot of venues that weren't built specifically for soccer stadiums.
Okay.
So, I'll give them a little bit of a pass on that.
The other point, what about handshake gate?
But the ref not shaking Pulisic's hand.
Okay, to explain what happened.
Okay.
He's the captain, right? And he goes over.
He's the captain.
It looked like he was still airing them out too.
Yeah.
And complaining.
And I think to a point, rightfully so, the ref was terrible. He was way out of his league in this game. He was brutal, and Pulisic is the biggest victim of it because he's by far our best player. So the other teams, and these teams from South America in particular, they kick him all over the field. And he's getting zero protection from the ref. So I understand why he particularly is really mad because, like, they intentionally, they should have had 3 yellow cards for the way they fouled him.
But he shakes one official's hand and then he goes out to the other, the guy that's under so much scrutiny, and he just doesn't
put his hands behind his back and
nope.
refuse to shake his hand.
I'm not shaking your hand.
It's pretty scandalous, except it appears from the video I saw, and I don't know if this is what he was doing or not, but it appeared that Pulisic, before he went over to shake their hands, was telling him to go celebrate with the Uruguay players.
No, he was airing them out, yeah.
Yeah, and so, I don't know. If I'm a ref, and if that's really what Pulisic said, and I don't know what he was airing them out, but if he said something like, why don't you go celebrate with the other team? I don't know that I want to shake that guy's hand. You're accusing me of cheating on behalf of the other team. You're accusing me of wanting the other team to win, of not being honest at my job. I'm not going to then shake your hand right after that. So the bottom line is that ref was terrible. He was garbage. He was hot garbage. It was really bad. It was, and look, but here's the thing to me. My stance on reffing. Losers blame the refs. This is a perfect example of my stance that losers blame the refs. And to their credit, the U.S. players didn't do that. But this terrible officiating should do nothing to distract us from the fact that this team vastly underperformed in this tournament.
But both can be true.
Both can be true. But if you're U.S. soccer, which part can you control? Which part can you do something about?
Pay the officials more than the other team?
Yes, yeah. Bribe the officials more. Bitch to CONMEBOL all you want, sure. But if they fix that ref,
they still lose.
Does that fix all your problems? Yeah, they might not lose, but they're not winning, and they needed to win. They needed to win that game. They needed to score goals, and they didn't create enough chances. And I know that Berhalter's point afterwards was, well, but Uruguay is a great defensive team. It's hard to score against them. Well, then don't punch somebody in the game before that and lose. Right?
That's a rule of thumb. Don't punch anyone in the game.
Right.
We've got Nate Bucate. He's all wound up in studio. We'll talk to Matt Beasler later. We're going to talk to Matt Derrick later. Andy Rogers. Jamie Blumen's going to be with us in a few minutes. Packed show today on Sports Radio 810 WHB. So what did you do, Drake? You put a montage together of pissed off former players at the desk after the U.S. men's national team lost last night. And we have, so what is this? Is it Alexi Lalas, and we have Clint Dempsey. Sit back, and Nate, this is for you. Drake put this together for you this morning. Let's listen to what they had to say after the match.
You talked about learning from losing, okay? I think what we have learned over these cycles is that this team is not able to do anything better than is done in the past. And that hurts. That hurts to say, because that was not what was promised and not what, for many, we believed was going to happen with this team. Because if this is as good as it gets, it's not good enough. And there's plenty of excuses, but they don't matter. You can talk about opportunities. Well, we have players that are playing all over the world. Talk about playing in Europe. The entire team that you saw out there plays in Europe, so it's not MLS's fault. You can talk about, the pathways and the resources that they have. No generation has been given more, and yet this generation hasn't lived up to that bargain. And when it comes to Greg Berhalter, we heard Stu Holden say it's exactly right. I know there's a sport in firing coaches in all professional sports. And I know the knives are out, and they should be, because this is not good enough from Greg Berhalter. And you have to ask yourself, with 2026 coming barreling down the pike, it's going to come real quick.
Less than 2 years away.
All right? We can't afford to waste it. We can't afford to be embarrassed. And we can't afford to arrive in the summer of 26 with a team that has not progressed, that has not evolved, and has not improved. And I'm sure if Greg Berhalter was here, he would say, oh, but you don't see what's happening inside. I don't give a crap what is happening inside. I don't care about the dynamic. I don't care how much your players love you. I don't care how kumbaya it is. All I care about is I see a U.S. men's national team that is better than before. And we haven't seen that, and that's a problem going forward.
Is that on the players? Is that on the manager? Is that on the federation? Where are we saying you need to be better?
Well, players certainly need to be better, And
But do you think this generation of players has what it takes? Like, do you think that they have that deep inside of them?
I think there's a couple of them. I think they are better soccer players, but ultimately I don't think that they're better U.S. men's national team players.
You want to bite of that apple?
Man,
We need to hold you back, or what?
Yeah, I'm at a loss for words. I mean, it's so frustrating to see. You have a team that you're rooting on and you want to do well, and at the same time, where have we come since 2022? You qualify for the World Cup, get out of the group, and then where have we progressed? And we haven't, to Lexi's point, and that's the most frustrating part. This is our golden generation. It looks like we're wasting it, and 2026 coming up, you're never going to get this opportunity again. I mean, 94 we had it, we're going to have it here, but then you don't know when that next time is going to come. When are you going to have a better chance to do something special in the World Cup than on home soil?
We didn't have what you're talking about in 94. We were successful. That's all that anybody cares about. And in particular, that's all that America cares about. They don't care how you do it. It doesn't have to be beautiful. It doesn't have to be romantic. At this point, when it comes to the United States, what do we want? We want to be the best. And guess what? We expect to be the best. Well, when it comes to soccer, it's one of the few things from the men's side, not the women's side, because they've been carrying us for years, from the men's side that we have not been the best. All right? And so we're trying to get there. And people don't care. People don't care what it looks like on the field. They care about winning. And when all is said and done, what we saw here was another U.S. men's national team losing against a team that a lot of people feel is better than us. And all that matters is that scoreboard. And Greg Berhalter will be the first to tell you that, and then talk about all the other things that don't matter. The summer of 26 is an opportunity. It's an opportunity not just for American soccer, but for the country, and the country to come together. And you need somebody that is going to pull people together. And right now, I think Greg Berhalter, because of the fact that he has failed to a certain extent, has not given people hope that it is heading in the right direction. And so he has become incredibly polarizing. And, that's just because of the results that have happened. If they believe that he is the right person to take us into 2026, that is not going to change. There will be continued polarization. And I want somebody in there that is going to bring everybody together. We all have different opinions, and I agree or disagree. But ultimately, in this lead up now, because you heard him say, next 2 years, there really isn't anything out there in terms of real competition. This was it. So whatever progress is going to be made in the next couple has to be made by somebody that's going to bring everybody together. Because when that whistle blows in the summer of 2026, I want everybody in America, whether they love soccer or not, to say, you know what? I am on board with this. And you need a leader in that position that's going to get the best out of the players and that is going to bring everybody together, not divide people.
America thinks big.
Yep.
Right? And you go big or go home. Fox Sports did it, right? Tom Brady, we're going to get you. U.S. Soccer, if they're going to make a move, they need to go big. Yeah. There's this guy up in Liverpool who's out of work right now. There's a guy in Manchester who loves spending time in the United States. Jurgen Klopp, Pep Guardiola, go big or go home. And the U.S. is going home from Copa America.
So do you want who they're talking about?
Oh yeah, they should offer Jurgen Klopp whatever he wants. They should offer him whatever he wants. Now, would he take the job? I don't know. He just retired from Liverpool. He would get the attention of the world if they could get somebody like that.
But the right guy's up in Canada, so they can't get him.
Well, Jesse Marsh, I mean, I would have loved it if they had hired Jesse Marsh last time around. I would have loved it. Some people disagree with that. We'll see what happens.
That's Jake's
with him.
guy.
Yeah, that's Jake's guy. He's had more success as a manager to me than any other American coach. A lot of people like to throw out the fact that no team has ever won the World Cup with a foreign-born manager. Now, you can make of that what you want. Only the traditional soccer powers have ever won the World Cup, so they usually have a lot of great managers, coming through their country. I don't even think that the goal is to win as sad as this is to say, the goal is not to win the World Cup in 2026. It's just to have a good run.
Don't get embarrassed on your home soil.
Yeah, like make it out of the group.
I mean, look at Drake right now. He's embarrassed by what happened last night.
Should be,
That's what he told me.
Yeah. So no, if they, I mean, look, the fear that we have is like U.S. Soccer is now saying they're gonna conduct an investigation. The last time they did something, they're gonna conduct a review. And the last time they did that to bring Berhalter back, they wasted 14 months and it paid some search firm $1 million to then bring back the same guy. There's not that kind of time now. They have 2 years to get ready for the World Cup. It's like this. They need to do something now. And if they haven't figured out by now that they need to do something, what kind of review is going to take place and how long is this going to take? And I don't know if it's realistic at all or not for a guy like Jurgen Klopp to take the job. He's out of work. They ought to give. What do you want? Do you want to take the next 4 months off so you can relax and recover? Do you want? How much money do you want? What do you want? They ought to start right there. And if he says, look, there's not absolutely anything you could do, they ought to offer him twice as much as they think he would take and make him say no and then go from there. But I don't know what they're going to do, man. I don't know how long this review is going to take place. No, not a lot of faith right now that they're going to do something to really turn things in the right direction.
They're not going to do very well in the World Cup, are they?
I'm not going to give up hope yet. 2 years, we got 2 years for these kids to grow up a little bit and become better players, but it's not looking good right now. They need to improve a lot.
Don't we all? We'll have Jamie Bluma. A full hour, he said all he wants to talk about, oddly enough, U.S. men's national team.
Wow.
So we'll hear what Bluma has to say. He said he's embarrassed right now. After this on Sports Radio 810 WHB.